Hey guys, what's up? Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/eggs show. That's EGGSSHOW. Audible has more than 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or just about any device you can imagine. As Eggs listeners, you can download a free audiobook today by visiting audibletrial.com/eggs show.
Bang ding ding, trademark. He come out 6'7" tall. Bang ding ding, 1 inch tall. Bang dong ding dong ding dong ding dong ding dong ding dong ding. It is a perfect day.
Woke up to the sound of the garbage truck again. Upstairs neighbor's toilet's leaking on my head. Cars broke down, I missed the bus that runs at 10. I had a feeling this was a day to stay in bed. I finally left my pad right under Jumbo's cloud roof. A police officer pulled out his gun and said, I said, sir, you got the wrong guy. I guess it's just a perfect day. It's just a perfect day. Na, 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 na,
Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to Eggs. How's it going? Hopefully everybody's having an awesome late spring, early summer, and hopefully it's beautiful for everybody. Today we're back in the studio with a guy that I think we actually talked about on our last episode a little bit, with some Creative South stuff. I recently went out to this design conference called Creative South out in Columbus, Georgia, and had the opportunity to spend a bunch of time with Christo and other people who've been mentioned. But one of the guys I also met is this guy. I'll give his artist name because I can't pronounce his last name yet. So he goes by Efdot. He's a muralist, graphic designer, artist, all-around nice guy, and now a public speaker. I saw him speak out at Creative South, which was a blast. He gave an awesome talk, and we can talk a little bit about that with him. Nonetheless, we were able to squeeze in a quick Jiffy podcast on the way to the airport. So without any further ado or time wastage, let's introduce Eric, AKA Efdot. What's up, man?
Hey.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, damn glad to have you.
Yeah, it'd be just kind of nice to have you coming through anyway, so we will swing you by and get you in here. So
Yeah, I'm actually just passing through Salt Lake for a 3-day trip, another conference called LetterWest.
Yeah.
I was teaching a workshop the other day, and now we're literally about to head to the airport, so glad I could come for a little bit.
Yeah, anyway, kind of a jiffy, but I mean, we could do this by phone, or we could have called him in or whatever, but I mean, he's here in town, and I don't know when or if he'll be back to Salt Lake anytime soon, so made sense to try and cram him in. Well, so the purpose of the show, or it's called Eggs, and basically we talk a little bit about people's processes from sort of coop to table, so to speak, where they started and where they're headed, that kind of thing. And with you, I don't know much more than what I've learned in recent months. You know, like I basically met you back in April, and that was kind of, the intro to the Efdot world and the art that you do. You're famous for, I guess they're called kind of the blob men. And a lot of people know you for that. And your murals are popping up all over the place, inside WeWork and a number of other places all over the, South America and everything. And, so I just want to talk to you a little bit about sort of, I guess, your early days and sort of the development of your style and sort of how you got here. And we'll do kind of an abbreviated version of the life story. But if you want to talk a little bit about just sort of who you are, where you come from, all that kind of thing.
Sure. So my name is Eric Friedensohn. That's my last name.
Yeah, I would have messed it up.
It's like a silent H in there. It's a hard German last name. But I was born and raised in New York, just outside the city in Westchester County. I've always been into art. My grandmother was an artist. She used to make these beautiful stained glass pieces and watercolor paintings and embroidery, and she would always buy me art supplies. So I was really introduced to art from when I was super young, like before I even had art class in high school.
That's cool.
Or in middle school. And then when I did get to start learning art, I was just obsessed with it. I would always stay late and keep making things, and got into photography, and then finally discovered skateboarding, dropped all my other sports.
Yeah, art out the window. I'm skateboarding now. That's all.
Well, the cool thing about skateboarding is art and skateboarding go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Like, how many skateboarders do you know that aren't creative?
Yeah,
They're
true.
They're
Very
all
true.
We look at the world through this skateboarder lens. I mean, of course, everybody has their own point of view, but I just found that skateboarding, with the magazines, the videos, all the media around it, it's a great way to meet other artists and just experiment. So I was the filmer in the crew, and I was obviously the worst skateboarder when I started, but the joke's on them, because all those guys stopped skating and I kept skating.
There you go.
And skateboarding really introduced me to all these different mediums like analog photography and video. And then when I was going to choose a major for college, I kind of just decided to choose graphic design because I thought it would be all encompassing. Like, you can do motion graphics within that, you can do video photography and mix it all into one thing. But I didn't really realize that it was also a way to commercialize my artwork. A lot of artists, they want to make money from their work and not just keep it as a hobby. So graphic design is a way for you to make it more commercial and more marketable, right?
Yeah, we actually have another artist coming on in a few weeks his name's Keegan Hall, and he does portraitures, but with lead, just amazing, just lead work, just
like photorealistic pencil drawing. It's
insanity.
Pretty amazing. So
it's cool to hear the different types of graphic design work that's out there. And you actually specialize in lettering, is that correct? Or is
That's how I got
muralism
started.
kind of the same kind of world?
I did get obsessed with typography and lettering when I was in college in Philadelphia, and I had this amazing professor who could do these like magic tricks with letter forms. He could make these lettering pieces where you like flip it upside down and you could still read it, or like look at it in a mirror and it says something else, and it was like this trippy medium that he discovered. And he really just invested in me and taught me this whole process in the course, and I just really resonated with it. I still keep in touch with that professor, and I feel like that's one of the reasons I've stuck with it for so long. Lettering was how I started to build my audience, and it was really taking off the trend of hand lettering in the last few years. But in the last couple years, I've been kind of getting bored of lettering and deciding that I want to start sharing messages that maybe are a little more abstract and not as direct as just putting a quote on the wall or a phrase. So I've been doing a lot more illustration and abstract art lately. And also my work at WeWork. I've been full-time at WeWork for about 3 years.
Oh, really?
Yep.
That's cool.
I keep my freelance work on the side, and they actually really feed off of each other.
So they just fly you around to do murals at different locations, or is it like, what's your job there?
That's my favorite part of the job. There's obviously a lot of stuff that we got to do before the mural gets painted, and it's not just murals. Like, my team is the art and graphics team at WeWork, and we do everything from murals, neon signs, which we're not actually bending the tubes ourselves, but we're designing them, prints, canvases, rugs, even wallpapers, fabric patterns. So we're collaborating with the interior designers who are making the workspaces to just make them super relevant to the local area, even sometimes bringing in local artists to paint.
Oh, nice.
And really just decking it out and making it an inspiring space with art.
That's really cool. That sounds like a fun job, actually. Just kind of...
Yeah, super like fulfilling gig, try and, get to actually apply your art. Most people that go to graphic design school end up doing something else and designing on the side. So it's kind of nice that you were actually able to, apply what you've learned, but also just sort of apply your natural creativity to it. And I don't know how much you want to go into your story, but one of the pieces of your story that I thought was kind of compelling or was an interesting thing, it's part of your talk, so if you don't want to give too much away, that's fine. But you just sort of talked about kind of rising from the ashes and coming out of, literal ashes out of like an apartment fire, and how that was so transformational for your career. Do you mind talking a little bit about that? I mean, without giving too much away?
No, yeah, sure. That seems to be the most memorable story that I have in my life. A lot of people still remember that when I made a video about it 3-4 years ago. So yeah, I'll share the abbreviated version of it for you guys. So I was living in Manhattan after finishing college in Philadelphia, and I felt like I was living the dream, right? Like freelancing, starting to get some clients, when in reality most of those clients were coming from Craigslist, and they were not paying very well. But I was getting by. I was living this dream of New York City life. And one day I was just painting a sign in my apartment for my friend's tattoo shop, and I smelled something. I smelled smoke. I was like, it's just New York City, probably car accident or someone having a barbecue, whatever. But then it got stronger and stronger, and I saw the smoke coming out the window. So I looked out the window, and my whole backyard was on fire.
Wow.
So if you can imagine, I was on the second floor of the building.
Well, at least you weren't like 8 floors up.
Well, what's wrong with that? The building didn't collapse.
Well, if you're 8 floors up, getting out's a little harder than the second floor.
That's true. Yeah. So the whole backyard was on fire. It was like one of those little enclosed areas, alleyways where they keep all the recycling and the garbage from restaurants and stuff. So I was on top of a restaurant, and as soon as I saw it, like literally seconds later, the windows shattered.
Wow.
Like, I'm surprised I didn't get cut by those windows. I was like right there. I tried to close the window and burn my hands on the window.
Wow.
So after that, I just went into panic mode. I didn't really have time to grab anything. I had my phone. I knew I could call the fire department with that. So I just ran out the front door because I had a clear exit. I was in like super panic mode. And I had 2 cats. Like, you'd think I would find the cats, but I couldn't find them. And I was just panicking because the windows had broken. The fire was already coming into my apartment. So anyways, the fire department came and they said, it's just going to be smoke damage. Don't worry about it. But they were wrong. One thing led to the next, and the whole apartment got destroyed.
Wow. You lost everything?
The building didn't collapse, so I was able to go back in afterwards, but it looked like a war zone. Like, the ceiling was on the floor. The mattress was like just a chunk of foam left over, and all of our clothing and artwork and computers, cameras, everything was just either damaged or completely destroyed.
Did you have renter's insurance?
We actually did. I was living with
Thank
the girl
goodness.
at the time, and we got a few $1,000s from it, but it definitely wasn't enough to get started. One of the things that we did find was my scanner where I was using for all my sketches, and it was all melted and gnarly, but I was able to pry it open, and I found one of my sketches that I was working on earlier in the week, and it said optimist.
Oh, man.
So seeing that sketch really brought me back to the moment when I was drawing it and what I was thinking about during that. And it just reminded me that I am an optimist. Like, I can get through these difficult situations, and it's not about say, look at me. Like, I'm not telling you this story for your pity. I'm telling you this story because I took that sketch and I ended up sharing it, turning it into a whole side project, because I just said, you know what? Actually, I'm fine. I lost all my stuff. We actually were able to find one of the cats, too.
Oh, really? Good.
Yeah, my
Good.
cat made it out. Unfortunately, my ex-girlfriend's cat didn't, which is very sad. We were looking for him for a while. But everything else was just replaceable stuff. And, like, I had my health. She was fine, my girlfriend, and my family. That's the important stuff. So after that fire experience, I got to kind of redefine what's important to me and what I really need to be happy. So even though I only got a few $1,000s from renter's insurance, I didn't actually need to replace everything that I lost. I've been keeping it pretty minimal since then, and it's weird how it creeps up on you. We start collecting crap that we don't need, so I gotta keep.
He's going through that right now. He's moving, so he's like, oh, why do I have this?
Just mountains of things I don't need. Yeah, no, it makes sense. Well, yeah. So anyway, I thought that was a really cool story, and I won't dig into his talk because I don't want to spoil it. And he's flying around the country on this mad tear, telling these stories. But the inspiration and sort of the transformation that came from discovering that note in the sort of the rubble and all that whole moment. As you mentioned, I mean, it's the thing people are remembering. It's I think a really powerful story, and it illustrates the point or the topic of your discussion really well. So I think that's cool. So let's talk, I guess, a little bit about the Blob Men. Like, how did that come about? So, I mean, I know that you were doing lettering, but I mean, lettering to abstract art's a pretty big jump. Like, what happened? Bump on the head, or?
But before you get into that, what's your website, real quick? I want to check it out.
It's fdotstudio.com, but it's EFDOT.
EFDOT.
Studio.com, yeah. So if you think about letter forms, they're actually just shapes that we've assigned meaning to over the years. And that's what abstract art is as well. It's just shapes and lines and colors. So yeah, they're not really that related, but once you remove part of a letter form, it's no longer a letter form. So it's actually not that different if you think about it. So a lot of my letter forms actually are reminiscent of the shapes that I'm drawing these days, even if they don't have words and phrases attached to it. It's the blob illustrations that I've been doing of these little characters do actually look like some of my lettering. So it didn't just come out of nowhere. I think I just got a little bit bored of the inspirational quotes that we see everywhere, like everyone kind of following the trend of this hand lettering wave, and I wanted to do something different. So I started unfollowing a lot of lettering artists and following more illustrators, especially being down in South America and seeing all this fresh talent, not to mention all the ancient stuff from Aztecs, Incas, and Mayas in the museums that somehow made its way into these illustrations, like the perspective or the lack thereof. The eyes, the hands, like people have been drawing this stuff for thousands of years. So what I'm doing isn't that new. Maybe I'm using an updated color palette.
Right.
But I just had fun. The first time I drew the distinct image that you're probably thinking of, I was really missing home, and I was kind of curled up in a ball on my bed, like literally just bummed out and feeling like I shouldn't have moved to South America. I was in a long distance relationship too.
That's hard.
So I just illustrated it because that's what I do, and I feel like crap. Like I gotta force myself to do something creative. So I drew like a self-portrait, really, and that's where the iconic
Like
image
sort of
came
the
from.
original blob guy came from. That's awesome. Let's talk a little bit about that. I think that we maybe missed a beat in there. Like, how did we end up moving to Mexico, or I guess South America?
So yeah, I started at WeWork about 3 years ago, working in New York on like East Coast and South United States team. So we were designing co-working spaces and artwork for those spaces for Chicago, Austin, New York, Florida, all those areas. And then they started talking about how they're going to be opening in Mexico City, and they're going to be opening in Buenos Aires. And I knew a little bit of Spanish from high school. So whenever they said these places, that I would want to visit these places, right? Mm-hmm. I've always dreamed of living in Barcelona. I visited there, but I never lived there. I kind of put that dream in my back pocket, waiting for the right opportunity, because I don't want to just go there and teach English. Like I want to have a cool job there. It's hard to get a job before you move someplace, right? So especially when you're early in your career. So as soon as they started mentioning Mexico City and Buenos Aires, I would perk up and I said, "Can I help? Can I help?" So I started to actually make artwork for these spaces, and then we went down to open the first WeWork space in Argentina. And that was sort of the testing grounds for these people who were working on this project. Were eventually going to move down there, build the team, scale it, and then leave once it's self-sufficient. So that's what I did. I signed a 1 to 2 year temporary contract with WeWork. They sent me down there. Really great experience, and so many amazing people that I met. I would not change anything about that experience.
That's amazing.
That's how
really
I got
cool.
there.
Yeah, it's awesome. Well, and like you said, I mean, some of the, this Blobman character, I mean, it is kind of reminiscent of the sort of the Aztec or the Mayan art. And, so I wondered what influence that played, because, yeah, I mean, it kind of has that vibe. But it's interesting to hear you say the thing about how it's kind of just the letter forms too, because I hadn't really thought of it that way. I just saw him more of as a little man, not thinking of him in that form.
Well, even
Or
his eye, isn't that like the Eye of Ra?
It's kind of Egyptian looking. Yeah. I don't know what the Eye of Ra is, but
Isn't that like the Egyptian kind of I think it's the...
Ra, not Ra. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like Luxor, Las Vegas, right?
I don't know.
It
It looked Egyptian to me. So
definitely has some ancient vibe going on where I've like flattened out this character. It's just, I don't know. I think artists, the cool thing about art is you get to see the way that another person sees the world, right? It does kind of look like that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Horus.
Interesting. So yeah, no. Anyway, so that's that's really cool, man. And I mean, I got to know you a little bit out in Creative South, and really thought that was I mean, one of the coolest experiences of that event was meeting you and getting to spend all this time with Chris and everything. Like I felt like we sort of made a nice little click, and so it was important to me to have you on, and I wanted to talk about your art and sort of spread the word around. Because we don't have a ton of time, let's talk a little bit sort of about what it takes to, I mean, how do people engage with you? What kinds of engagements are you looking to do? What's the future for Efdot look like, and what, how can we help? Who can we put you in front of that would be of value to you?
Oh, thank you, man. I guess I'll be shameless plug right here. So I do a lot of stuff with mission-driven companies. That's kind of the types of companies that I resonate with the most. When our values align, it's always a really cool project. And the types of work I'm looking to do these days are usually large-scale murals, or I'm also getting into apparel and stuff like that, because the thing about murals is you have to travel and actually paint it.
Sure.
I can't be doing 10 murals every month. It's too much.
Right.
So those are the two types of projects I'm looking to do. And then as far as more of a B2C type thing, like direct to audience, I'm teaching about murals, and I'm teaching about illustration and lettering. So I've been doing some workshops around, that's why I was here in Utah to do this is actually the first time I ever did a mural workshop.
Nice.
So
how'd that go?
It was really cool. I had to strategize a lot, because 20 people painting a mural in 3 hours, how do you get that done? With a huge wall too. It was 30, 40 feet wide.
So how do you do it? Just project on the wall and get your outline, and then...
Yeah, but I didn't want people to just paint my design. I wanted people to actually learn how to design a mural and then paint it. So my strategy was to take the name of the conference, which was LetterWest, and since it was 10 letters, I divided everybody up into groups of 2, and then each pair got a letter form. And I had already sketched the composition, but it was a really boring typeface that I chose, so they got to jazz it up and add drop shadows and effects and patterns and illustrations inside the letters or around them. And so it all kind of felt cohesive. I also chose the color palette and the tools that they were going to use. only just like big brushes, so they didn't spend too much time on the details.
Okay.
And yeah, we got it done like just in the nick of time.
Nice.
So it came out pretty well.
Yeah, it's awesome, and I'll share a picture of it on the website. I took a picture of it.
Perfect.
But it's very cool. Yeah, I guess. I mean, this is like world's quickest interview. Do you know what we are on time?
We're
Or can you tell from in here?
We're 3 o'clock right now.
Okay. Because I don't want to be the reason he misses his flight.
Right.
I think we're fine. Like it's a small airport, right?
Yeah. I mean, it should be pretty easy. I just don't want to be the guy to blame,
So-
when you don't make it.
Do you know the Drunk on Lettering girls?
I actually used to date one of those girls.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I see them in one of your videos on here. Is that them right there? Is that
Yep.
okay? That's
Yep.
what I thought.
Or collaboration.
So he turned me on to them a while ago, and I just enjoy their murals. So, and they have a podcast too. So
Yeah, no, I
think
had mentioned. So when I ran into Eric, he was with a couple other people, and they had or I brought these guys up to the Drunk on Lettering people just because I knew that they were at LetterWest, and we had talked about maybe trying to have them on the show at some point. And so I had wanted to come to that thing with you last night in hopes of maybe meeting them and catching up with some other people, because there are a number of people who came in for this conference. Can you talk a little bit about LetterWest, like this conference? Like I don't know that much about it, and I don't know how, I mean, it is pretty niche, but maybe people are into it.
Yeah, this is the first year that it's happening as a conference. The last 2 years, it's just been a small retreat. So it was only 30 people or so and very intimate. This is 200 people.
Oh, wow.
And it's all taking place at the Gateway, like at various locations. I like the way that they structured it too, because they only have one main stage speaker every day in the morning, and then they have everybody go to breakout sessions.
Okay.
So it's like smaller, intimate
Nice.
groups. I think they try to keep the spirit of that retreat a little bit. And it's all about lettering and all the various things that you want to learn about the business side of it, the creative side of it. There's a few panels, one about book publishing, one about diversifying your sources of income. So it's quite entrepreneurial and business conference-y as well.
Oh, that's
neat.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So I guess from here, you're off to speak at another event. There's something going on up in Boise. Can you talk about that at all, or do you want to kind of promo that event? Because the show is actually going to go out today. So,
Sure.
I mean, so if you want to promo your coming talk.
Yeah, I'm heading over to Boise for this event called Craft and Commerce. It's put on by this amazing company called ConvertKit, and they're an email marketing platform for creators. They really care about everybody who uses the product, unlike some of their competitors who seem to just serve so many businesses that how can they have a personal connection with everybody? So
Sure.
I really like ConvertKit. I have a friend that works for them full time, and she got me onto the speaker lineup. So I'm speaking right before Pat Flynn from the Smart Passive Income
Yeah.
Okay.
podcast and the videos. He's amazing. So I'm really honored to be on this lineup. I've only done a few talks really. And so
Do you find it hard, or is it like you just kind of take to it? Because public speaking seems to be somewhat like the top fear in most people. And did you just kind of have any problems with it, or did you just kind of take to it naturally?
it's funny, man. My preparation style is very unorthodox. You watch any video or tutorial about public speaking, and they'll tell you to rehearse and prepare and do this and have your slides like exactly. I just kind of do everything last minute, and I need to feel the vibe of the conference, so I'm making
Sure.
tweaks like literally right before my talk.
Yeah.
And I also like to improvise, and I think I'm a good storyteller when I don't have to be scripted. So I have my structure of my talk, and I know the slides are there to remind me and emphasize the points and show some of my visual work as well. So I find it pretty difficult to just keep it on track and keep the time right while I'm speaking and not just freak out about the stage fright.
Yeah.
But it's been getting easier. I've done a few of them now, and this one I'm not as nervous as I was for the first.
Perfect.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I don't know if this is the case for you, but I mean, I know a lot of artists are sort of introverted or prefer not to be this kind of thing. But it seems like people who do mural type work, I mean, obviously you've got to be prepared for criticism and things like that. So maybe you're more mentally prepared to go do public speaking and things like that. I don't know. So, but
I'm definitely extroverted in that way. I don't mind a little attention. I'd rather be in the spotlight versus nobody giving a shit about what I do.
Sure. Right.
Or being in the middle.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Well, cool. So I guess, Mike, any other questions
No,
before we get out of here?
I think that's
I mean,
it.
I hate to cut it so short. I would much prefer to kind of go longer form, but I guess what's the future hold? Any other? I mean, you've got the Sing in Boise next week, or coming right up. But anything else happening? World travels. Any other exciting stuff happening?
In November, I'm planning a Pacific Northwest trip, so San Francisco,
Nice.
Portland, Seattle.
I can get you in touch with people in Portland and Seattle.
That would be awesome. Yeah, I'm always looking for walls to paint, like exterior, ideally like high foot traffic areas, because I'm down to paint a mural, but if it's in someone's living room, like not that many people get to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Still down to do small projects like that, but yeah, that's really the only travel that I have. I'll be mostly in New York. I'm going back to Mexico City at the end of the month for a WeWork thing, but that's really what I got so far. I definitely want to do more workshops as well, so if there's any conferences or companies or schools out there that want to bring me in for a workshop, illustration, lettering, or murals, that would be awesome.
Cool.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. Well, then, where can people find you online? How can people connect with you? That kind of thing. Where your preferred social methods and all that kind of stuff.
I've dropped just about everything except for Instagram and my website where I have a newsletter. So my Instagram is Efdot, that's EFDOT, and the website is fdotstudio.com.
Cool. All right. Well, man, thanks so much for making a moment to come in and do this. We'll get you off to the airport now so you can start to relax and get ready to hit the next spot. But yeah, really appreciate you coming in and doing this.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Eric.
All right, cheers.